Follow and subscribe 5-episode thriller for more episodes. Episode 3 of 5. Title: The Silence Room. The Woman in the Garden. Dr. Adrian Vale stared at the word on the page again. Not her. It haunted him. Not just because it was the only thing Elena Rhys had spoken since her arrest, but because of how she'd said it. With dread, not anger. With fear, not grief. The kind of fear that runs deep, like roots twisted into the bone. She hadn't spoken of her mother. She hadn't denied the photo. She had simply corrected him. Not her. So who was the woman in the photograph? Session 9. Today, the room was colder. Vale had adjusted the thermostat a few degrees lower. It was a trick. Subtle discomfort could sometimes breach emotional defenses. He watched Elena shiver as she sat, though she didn't complain. She never did. "I brought something else," he said, holding up a sealed envelope. "It's from the Westbridge Foster Care Archive. I had to dig through state records. Seems your mother died when you were 7. House fire. But you already knew that." No reaction. Vale continued, carefully watching her. "You were placed with a woman named Angela Crowe, retired nurse. No criminal record. Lived on the edge of town. Never adopted. Just temporary care. Though you stayed there nearly 5 years." Still blank. He placed a photograph on the table. A grainy black and white picture. A woman in her late 50s with sharp features, long gray hair tied back, and a stern mouth. Angela Crowe. "Is this the woman in the locket?" Elena's eyes dropped. That was new. He leaned in. "She hurt you, didn't she?" Elena's jaw clenched. "She made you dig at night. That's what the neighbor saw. It didn't start with Matthew. It started long before." Still silence, but it was thick now. Not the clean, sterile silence of earlier sessions. This was charged, like the air before a storm. Vale tried the direct approach. "What did she make you bury, Elena?" That's when it happened. Her breath caught. She coughed once, violent, as though something had turned to dust inside her. Then finally her voice, barely above a whisper. "Things." Vale froze. "What kind of things?" Elena blinked slowly. Her throat worked. "She called it obedience, said the ground never lies. If it stays buried, it stays forgotten." Vale felt a chill crawl up his spine. "She made you bury things to forget them?" Her voice was fragile, but steady. "No, she buried me." Session 10, Thursday. Vale sat in his office late into the night. He'd reviewed the session 5 times. She buried me. Not literal, of course. Or was it? He had pulled the official records on Angela Crowe. She was a nurse for over 30 years. No marriage. No children. A quiet, well-liked woman. But there were whispers. 3 children from the foster system placed in her care over the years. None adopted. All transferred out. Minimal documentation. Elena had stayed the longest. He requested a special excavation order from Westbridge PD. They would check the garden behind the Rhys residence and the garden at Angela Crowe's now abandoned farmhouse. Session 11, Friday morning. When Elena entered the room, she looked different. Her posture was looser, still silent but not locked in place like before, as if she'd passed through a door. Vale decided not to question her today. Instead, he pulled out a recorder and placed it on the table. "I'm going to ask you to listen again, but this time, it's not a story. It's a voice." He pressed play. A static-laced recording began. A woman's voice, thin, strict, and unmistakably old. No talking at the table. You know the rules. If you speak without permission, you go in the box. Elena's face paled. Vale paused the tape. That was taken from an interview with another child placed in Angela Crowe's care. They said she kept a crawl space under the floorboards, locked from the outside. He leaned forward. "Did she put you in the box, Elena?" A pause. Then, "Yes." "How long would she leave you there?" "Hours, sometimes days." "Why?" Elena's voice was distant. "To make me quiet." She said, "Noise is evil. That voices lead to sin. That silence is safety." Vale scribbled notes. Dissociative patterns, auditory suppression, compliance training, classic conditioning through abuse. "And Matthew?" he asked softly. "Did he remind you of her?" Elena didn't speak, but her eyes said yes. "She made you bury your voice," Vale said, "and Matthew made sure it stayed buried." Then came something unexpected. Elena reached into her sleeve and placed a small object on the table, a dirt-covered key. Vale's eyes widened. "You've been holding on to this?" She nodded once. "What does it open?" Her voice was a breath. "The basement." Later that day, Westbridge PD called. Behind the Rhys home, beneath the garden, they had uncovered something. A locked cellar, sealed and buried under concrete tiles. Inside, a wooden box, roughly 4 feet long, lined with old blankets, stains, claw marks. Inside the box, a second locket, identical to the first, but this one had a name etched inside, Angela, and a photo of her and Matthew Rhys. Session 12, Friday evening. Vale sat across from Elena, the weight of everything between them. "I think I finally understand," he said. "You didn't kill Matthew out of rage or revenge. You killed him because of what he was." She looked up. Tears brimmed in her eyes for the first time. "He knew her, didn't he?" Elena nodded. "Her nephew. And he found you later, married you, because you were trained to be silent, obedient, just like she made you." Elena whispered, "He said she taught him everything he knew." Val closed his eyes. The puzzle finally assembled. "You thought if you killed him, you could kill her too." Elena nodded. "But trauma doesn't die with the abuser," he said gently. "It burrows. You've buried your voice so deeply, you don't know how to speak for yourself anymore." Then he asked the question that had haunted every session. "Why didn't you speak at first?" Elena's answer was barely audible. "Because I thought, if I stayed silent long enough, I'd disappear." That night, Dr. Vale wrote his most important note yet. Subject is not psychotic. She is profoundly traumatized. Her silence is a learned behavior, a survival strategy. Confession obtained through narrative reconstruction and recovered memory. Recommend intensive trauma therapy, not incarceration. And at the bottom, voice restored, partially. Burial complete, symbolically. Watch for relapse. He shut the folder, but something still gnawed at him. The second locket, the box in the basement, the photo. Angela Crowe had been dead for decades, so why did that photo look like it had been taken just 2 years ago? Follow and subscribe, 5-episode thriller for more episodes.